up, YouTube? Here with a review video for AEW's Double or Nothing pay-per-view. How this video is gonna go, I'm gonna tell you how the results of what took place in the event. You know, I got a 5-star rating system for every match. I ain't gonna go into every detail and describe how exactly the match went from start to finish. I'm just go through the results like I said, and I got a 5-star rating system for every match, and then I'll give a 10-star rating system and how I rated the pay-per-view event as a whole at the end of the video. But anyways, let's get into it without any further ado. The first match on the card. Let me talk about the first actual match for the whole event. It was on the prelims, aka the buy-ins for Double or Nothing. You had Hausen, that's a newly formed team between Hook, who's an undefeated prospect, that's Taz's son. He's, climbing through the ranks, and he's well over with the crowd. The crowd receives him very well. He's got potential for sure. A lot of people, when it comes to pro wrestling, they always say, size is a big factor. But, with a crowd that AEW has, majority of the crowd, AEW's, got a good mainstream support ever since, guys like CM Punk, that's obviously the biggest draw from AEW. But then you have, other successful pro wrestlers who's already built a great legacy for themselves, like Chris Jericho, John Moxley, Bryan Danielson. List goes on and on and on. AEW's got a very stacked roster. And Hook, who is Taz's son, like I said, I think, that's AEW's homegrown talent. Before, he's only like 23, 24 years old. And Hook, I don't think before AEW came on the scene, I don't think, he was wrestling at all. So that's like AEW's like homegrown talent, second generation star. And he's got some good in-ring abilities. I ain't seen too much of his character. But yeah, for whatever reason, the crowd receives him very well. And then Hausen, I would say he's more received well and better over with the crowd than Hook is. I don't know why. I'm now just getting back into pro wrestling, and I don't know if Hausen's been around for some time. I think he's worked with ROH before, and ROH is basically AEW now. And I don't know what the hype is with that guy, but the crowd seems to receive him very well, and they formed a team, and they're over with the crowd, and they had their match at the prelims with Tony Nese. He was in WWE when they were trying to revive the cruiserweights. You know how that went. All wrestling fans know how that went. That shit was a flop. And Tony Nese, the premier athlete, he was doing this thing on 205 Live and all that. AEW, ever since he signed with them, I don't think, they've been utilizing him like that for real. He's linked in with, what's his name, Smart Mark Sterling. That's who he teamed up with to take on Hookhausen. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to say he's jobber status, but he's like, I guess a level above a jobber status, if there is anything like that, like low mid card level. That's where Tony Nese has been at for some time now, for ever since he's been with AEW actually. And they jobbed out in this match. This match was like a regular 1.5, 2 out of 5. Like to be nice, I'll give it a 2 out of 5 star rating. Hausen got the pin after Hook put in the work. Tony Nese, what's his name? He was getting suplexed all throughout the ring before he tagged in Mark Sterling. After I guess he's had enough punishment given to him by Hook, and then he tagged in Sterling. Sterling didn't want to get in there. Obviously, dude's like a agent, lawyer, whatever his gimmick is. He gets forced to, get in the ring after he got tagged. He didn't want to get in the ring. Hook forces him in the ring and suplexes him. And then Hausen looks like he said, he want to get a piece of Sterling. But nah, he just walked in there and pinned him and got the win for his team. But Hausen, he showed off some wrestling skills in the match as well when he was, in the match in the ring versus Tony Nese in the beginning part of the match. And he was showing off some, high flying abilities, that luchador style, that comes with, more smaller size guys. Hook is about like the same size, I guess, just more chiseled, more in athletic shape. He's got more that technical wrestler style like his father. While Dan Hausen, I've never seen him wrestling before. I thought he was just like an extra character in AEW, but he could go in the ring as well. He's doing some hurricanranas and low 1-2s in the ring, so that's cool, I guess. But yeah, that was in the prelims. Anyways, got that out the way. Now on to the official card. The first match on the pay-per-view was Wardlo versus MJF. I thought, honestly, heading into this pay-per-view, this was the most like solid, built-up match on the card. It's got like the best storyline heading into the card, at least in my opinion. AEW is more like, I don't want to call it a clusterfuck. I would say like it's like they got too much talent on their roster, and it's not really like, it's different. AEW's like got like more of that like sporty feel to it, Pro wrestling, it's got like that more pro wrestling element to it. They try and give it that like sporty, like MMA kind of vibe. They keep track of their records. They got a ranking system. It's completely different from how WWE runs things. If you want to call pro wrestling sports entertainment, they really tend to more focus on the sport aspect, the pro wrestling aspect, rather than the entertainment storyline aspect. But for this match right here, leading up to it, they really, put an emphasis on the storyline. This long built, and it was personal. Obviously, Wardlow, former, bodyguard security for MJF. And MJF, after he got schooled by Wardlow versus Punk at Revolution, he let Wardlow go, and Wardlow wanted to free himself out of the contract that he got himself in with MJF, and MJF put him through hell in order for Wardlow to have the opportunity to fight to get out of the contract, and he finally got his opportunity at Double or Nothing. It was a squash match. Obviously, this feud is more story based than it was to be like a great wrestling match. And MJF could go in the ring. Wardlow, he got potential. I see him, like, if he were to go to the WWE, right, AEW better not drop the ball with this guy, because this guy's got the looks. He's got the charisma. He got the fans behind him. His like character work, that could develop, but that comes over time. You look at, like, not to compare a man to a next man, but you look at Roman Reigns when he first came onto the scene as a main eventer. WWE was putting all the necessary W's for him to make him look like the top guy, and they were pushing Roman Reigns onto the scene fast, and the fans didn't receive him too well. But in AEW, like I said, majority of the crowd is like, I don't want to call them smarks or anything like that. Like I said, AEW, I don't know if I said this in the prior video or anything like that, but AEW, like I said, they got mainstream support. They're obviously on TBS and TNT, big networks, backed up financially by the Khan family, who owns the Jacksonville Jaguars. And they have enough talent. Like I said, they're overfilled with talent right now. So it's not like they're lacking talent, like, big names that will draw mainstream attention. But AEW's got that. Like I said, they really focus on pro wrestling. So majority of the fan base, from what I've seen, how I receive it, is, real like pro wrestling fans who's like been into the industry for like a long time. And Wardlow is being supported by the AEW crowd. I'm not hearing any boos. I'm not hearing any, bad reception when it comes to Wardlow. This is what I'm saying. Wardlow, he's got that it factor look. So I think he would do well anywhere if booked right. And AEW's booking them correctly right now. And how the match was, like I said, it was a squash match. They had a 20-minute time limit to this match. AEW be having time limits to their matches, whether it's on their regular TV programs or on pay-per-view. And MJF, how this match went, MJF was trying to drag the clock, running away from Wardlow, not trying to fight, and Wardlow was chasing him and beating him. MJF had his little 1-2 moments, and he tried to pull out the ring to try and cheat to get the W, but the ref caught him, and Wardlow got up and is like, oh, basically you screwed without the ring, and MJF offered a olive branch saying he'll quadruple his old pay. Wardlow, finessed him like as if he was gonna, go through with MJF's offering. Fake shook his hand and then power bombed him, I think 10 times. And that goes back to, like it correlates to, the lashing that Wardlow took in order to get this match. And I thought that was a cool element in the match. So it was more storytelling than anything. It was a feel good moment. Wardlow finally being freed from MJF's old contract. So now he's officially all elite. And the sky's the limit for him. They just got to keep booking him right, and he's working with the right guy. MJF is one of the best talent to come out of AEW. He got stretched off the arena. There's some controversy surrounding MJF right now on whether he's, having contractual problems with AEW, all kayfabe aside, because he didn't show up to the Double or Nothing Fan Fest, and there was some rumors circulating on the internet talking about MJF was going to leave Las Vegas before Double or Nothing took place. He looked like he booked a flight back to the East Coast, but he showed for the pay-per-view. Looked like he might have pulled a CM Punk or Sasha Banks and Naomi. It was rumored to be, but that was all BS. But I don't know what's going on with him not showing up for FanFest. There's some rumors going on around as the narrative is that he wants to leave AEW and explore his options. We'll see though. I think MJF is a good fit anywhere. But what he's done in AEW, he's done incredible work so far during his run in AEW. Now I don't know what his contract situation is. I don't know if his contract is soon to be expired with AEW, but he's going to be one of the hottest free agents in pro wrestling, period. AEW better try and keep him because, I don't know if this feud's going to continue, but I think it will because MJF's going to come back. I don't know if he's going to show for the following show on Dynamite or Rampage after Double or Nothing. But, yeah, Wardlow picked up the win. This match I'll give it a 3 out of 5 because the storytelling was good in this match. The match itself was just whatever, but it was a squash match, like I said, in all actuality. If you want to look at it from, like, wrestling-wise, but if you want to, put everything together, then this was a good storytelling match, and it was fun. And then the second match, the Hardys versus the Bucks, right? Brothers versus brothers. Young Bucks, they're a legend, like, in their own lane. Like, they've never been in the WWE, but they've accomplished everything a tag team could accomplish when it comes to pro wrestling. They just haven't been in the WWE. And the Hardys, I mean, I don't got to say nothing about them because, they've been putting on since, before I was born. Shit. And the Hardys, they're legends, but the Bucks are legends too. So this had, high hopes heading into the pay-per-view. And, yeah, I thought this match was prolonging a little bit too long from my takes. It was like a 20-minute match. The Hardys, the coolest spots in the match was like the Hardys took like bare super kicks. It was really a super kick party that the Young Bucks gave the Hardys, but the Hardys kicked out. The Young Bucks got frustrated because the old dogs wouldn't give up, and then the Bucks set up a spot outside the ring, set up the steel steps, laid Jeff Hardy on there, but the Hardys would turn the tables, and then Jeff Hardy would hit a swanton bomb on one of the Bucks while they were laying on the steps on the outside, and that was the coolest spot in the match. And then Matt Hardy in the ring after that spot, hit his finisher to pick up the win for the Hardys. I thought the Bucks should have won because, they're the homegrown talent. They're the younger talent. There's more longevity into them. And, Jeff Hardy, man, like, he's like 50 years old, but he's been taking bumps like as if he's 20 ever since he got with AEW. You know, can't do nothing but appreciate Jeff Hardy for putting his body on the line like that, like on the weekly. Every show that he shows up for AEW, he puts on like these crazy stunts. But you know, this match, like I said, it was a little, you know, dragged on in my opinion. But yeah, you know, this match had more hype than you know the actual quality of how the match went for Double or Nothing. That's my opinion. I give this match a cool 2.5 out of 5. But Hardy's, you know, they recently joined AEW. Well, Jeff Hardy recently joined AEW, so you know this tag team is you know freshly, newly formed into AEW. So I get why they booked the Hardys to go over the Bucks, but you know I thought the Bucks should have won, but hey, the Hardys won. Anyways, the next match on the card, what was it? Was it Oh, I think it was a House of Black versus Death Triangle. Obviously, a Ray Phoenix coming back from his injury. These two been having a feud for months now, and it's like they don't know what they're doing with you know House of Black. Obviously, that's you know recently formed as well because Buddy Murphy, he joined AEW like only a few months ago, and Ray Phoenix just came back onto the scene, and that's what made it a little more interesting because at Revolution, you know, they already had a match, Death Triangle and House of Black, but Ray Phoenix wasn't in the picture yet. Ray Phoenix just recently came back, and he joined in for this match, and you know they had cool spots. These two teams, they can perform in the ring. They just haven't been you know booked right because, like I keep saying, AEW just got way too much talent on their roster to have them displayed on two shows only, Rampage and Dynamite. Dark and Elevation don't really count like that because they're like YouTube shows. That's like main event for AEW. And yeah, the coolest, like, you know, I ain't gonna mention just everything that happened in the match. I don't want to, you know, have this video any longer than it has to be. But Julia Hart, yeah, I remember they had that segment a few weeks ago where it looked like she was possessed by the House of Black. Obviously, Malachi Black, when he was feuding with the Blonde Varsities, he spat in Julia Hart's eye with that mist, and then you know apparently you know that possessed her, and it looked like you know she was showing a glimpse that she was gonna join House of Black until you know she hesitated to you know hit one of them with the chair on Dynamite, but then she finally joined the House of Black on Double or Nothing. And yeah, the match, I'll give it a 3 out of 5. It was cool. Julia Hart, you know, the light went out in the arena while Neville looked like he was gonna hit his finisher. I said Neville, my bad. Pac, that was his name in WWE, but he's called Pac in AEW. He was gonna hit his finisher. Lights went out in the arena. Julia Hart, she spat the same mist that she got spat in her eyes with to a Pac, and then. Malachi hit his finisher and then got the win for his team. And now it looks like Julia Hart has left Blonde Varsity to join the House of Black. I'll see how this goes. I think it's probably going to continue maybe in the upcoming weeks on Dynamite or Rampage or their dark show. And then after they'll probably go on a beat on Blonde Varsity to you know keep you know elevating their status at the in the tag team scene. I don't know. They're just everything is sorted out by groups. It looks like other than the main event scene when it comes to AEW. So you know they're gonna build you know power and build the House of Black up with Julia Hart along their side because you know there's a funny joke that's going around saying, you know, it's the House of Men, not the House of Black, whatever. But we'll see how far they'll push this team House of Black. And that wasn't the actual third match on the card. The actual third match on the card was Jade Cargil defending her TBS title versus Anna Jay. And yeah, and that was a cool match. And it's like the TBS title, like I don't know what the necessity is for the TBS title to be there. I guess it's cool. It's like the mid-card women's title. They're trying to make it fair for the women's, right? They got a TV title, the TNT title, for the men's, and then they had to, I guess, add on the TBS title for the women's as the mid-card women's belt, right? And Dynamite's on TBS now. TNT title been there ever since the first episode of Dynamite, and Dynamite used to be aired on TNT. That's why it was a TNT title. And when they moved to TBS, I guess they added the TBS title. But I guess the TBS title was to be the mid card title for the women's. And Jade Cargill, she's undefeated, and she's on the come up. So I guess give the title to her. And now AEW's got 3 women's titles, including the ROH women's title. Like I said, y'all go check out my y'all go check out my Talk Wrestling episode 1, man, where I talk about what they gonna do with ROH, because it's like you have the ROH women's titles on AEW Dark and shit like that. Anyways, but this was like the TBS titles like be featured on every pay-per-view, but it's like a filler match. Like, let's be real now. Like it was a cool little match. It was like under 10 minutes. Jade Cargill retained the title. And Anna Jay, she could go in the ring. Jade Cargill, she could work in the ring as well. The baddies got involved. There was interference in the match. The baddies got involved. But Anna Jay held herself down. DDT both of them on the outside of the ring. And then John Silver, because Anna Jay's a part of the Dark Order, he came out when Smart Mark Sterling came out on his crutches to, I guess, to help his client retain a title. And then that's when John Silver came out and took out Mark Sterling. I ain't gonna lie, Anna Jay, she's the best talent out of all the Dark Order. Like, John Silver, he could work, but all these guys, man, that's like, I ain't gonna lie, bro, like, that shit like that group is the group of jobbers. Like, they could work though, but it's like I don't get that group, like, for real. But Anna Jay, I think she's the best talent in that group, honestly. Like, she could go in the ring, like, as far as character work, definitely when it comes to character work, but she could also go in the ring as well. And then after the match, after Jade Cargill hit her finisher and then got the win, the baddies continue to attack Anna Jay, right? And then what's her name came out? Chris Statlander, who I think should have been in the finals along with a lot of people, because she is well over with the crowd. She got like the same like feature as a Jade Cargill. She's as athletically built. She could also go in the ring, and she's well received by the crowd. And I guess building a feud around her and her old pal, Red Velvet, who recently joined the baddies. And I guess they're going to build a feud around them. And she came out to help Anna Jay to save her from the baddies. And then, but they still outnumbered. It's 3-on-2. And then guess who came out? Athena, a.k.a. Ember Moon. She's one of the hottest free agents when it comes to women's. And she made her debut. AEW's trying to strengthen their women's division. Like I said, this is why I said I don't know why there's 2 or 3 women's titles in AEW, because it's like the women's roster isn't as isn't deep enough for them to have 3 titles. But if you picked up who they picked up now, Toni Storm, they picked up what's her name now, Ember Moon, or Athena rather. And you building girls up like Thunder Rosa, the new champion. Britt Baker been holding things down for AEW when it comes to women's wrestling in AEW. Then you got Serena Debb. Then you got Sheeta. Then you got Ruby Soho. All these girls, and what's her name? Yeah, they're starting to build up their women's roster in AEW. And Athena, she's one of the hottest acquisitions that AEW could pick up to strengthen their women's division. I guess Athena, she's gonna be feuding with Jade Cargil for the TBS title. I think that's the direction that they should be heading in. And yeah, that was cool. And I get that match between Jade Cargill and Anna Jay a cool 3 out of 5. Then the fifth match on the card, if I remember correctly, um was it what's his name, man? I don't remember, man. Um Fifth match on the card, like I'm not gonna have like every match on the card like exactly on the dot. So whatever match I remember, I'll say um, Adam Cole versus Samoa Joe, the finals for the Owen Hart Cup, right? Cool match. The first time ever these two got in the ring to compete. They both former ROH champions, both former NXT champions. And yeah, this match would have been a match that Triple H would have loved to see. But yeah, it was cool. Nothing too crazy, nothing too spectacular or anything like that. I thought it was an average match at best. And I expected more out of these two wrestlers because I guess they're such good wrestlers. But the match was, like I said, average. Bobby Fish got involved, distracted Samoa Joe. But that wasn't the cause of why Samoa Joe lost. Really, Samoa Joe um, looked like he had the match won in the bag, but Bobby Fish got involved. Samoa Joe knocked him off the apron. Then Adam Cole took advantage, and then hit the boom to pick up the win, and he wins the Owen Hart Cup. I give this match a 3 out of 5. Then Britt Baker took on Ruby Soho in the finals for the women's Owen Hart Cup, and Britt Baker once again defeated Ruby Soho, hit the lockjaw, and she won. I give this match a 2.5 out of 5. It was like both matches were under 20 minutes, and it was cool. Like I said, I thought it was thoughtful. It was cool. Owen Hart's. I don't think he's not talked about enough. At least in the WWE, they can't mention Owen Hart because due to issues with Owen Hart's family and the WWE. But Owen Hart, as far as when it comes to pro wrestling fans all around, even if you're a new pro wrestling fan, a younger pro wrestling fan, you got the internet. Like y'all could tap in and do y'all research about Owen Hart on the internet to really appreciate and understand what him and his family has contributed to professional wrestling. And I thought them having the Owen a tournament dedicated to Owen Hart on their biggest pay-per-view, I think that's a great tribute. And the couple won. Britt Baker and Adam Cole, they're a couple and they're the winners. They're the winning couple. They won the Owen Hart Cup tournament, man. So congrats to them. Then the next match on the card was a 6 mixed tag team match between the TNT champion Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page and Paige Van Zet, aka America's Top Team, aka Men of the Year, well, at least for Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, taking on Sammy Guevara and Tay Conti and Frankie Kazarian. Now Frankie Kazarian was the only true babyface in this match, and I thought the story was displayed well. The storytelling was displayed in this match because Frankie Kazarian showed frustration throughout the match because the communication, the chemistry was off with his partners. Obviously, they were like a forcefully formed team because Scorpio Sky, after his match with Frankie Kazarian, his old buddy, his former tag mate, first ever AEW tag team champions, I think, right? I think that's a fact, yeah. Scorpio Sky retained his TNT title by cheating because Ethan Page got involved, hit Frankie Kazarian with the title. Then Scorpio Sky hit his finisher and got the win. And then after that, Ethan Page offered him a ultimatum, either them or Frankie Kazarian, and Scorpio Sky chose up. And then, Sammy Guevara didn't want to get involved because Frankie Kazarian obviously showed that he dislikes Sammy Guevara, and but then common enemies results in, alliances, and that's how this match came about. And yeah, I thought the storytelling was good in this match. Like I said, um, I give this match a rating of 3 out of 5. Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page and Paige Van Zant won this match. Key spots in this match, Sammy Guevara knocked over Conti. Paige Van Zant showed off her in-ring skills in her in-ring debut. Didn't see, enough to say like, oh, okay, like, yo, like, she gonna need, as time goes on, it'll tell, how she is in the ring and how she is overall as a pro wrestler. But, she did her thing in this match. And, yeah, Kazarian basically, tagged himself in after, they had their miscommunication and heated moments in the match. And, he got distracted, and Scorpio Sky hit his finishing move to pick up the win for his team. And that's that. And then the next match, moving on, was the Anarchy in the Arena match between the Jericho Appreciation Society and Blackpool Combat Club and PNP and Eddie Kingston. Now, for Double or Nothing, it's like ever since I think 2020, they that's when they introduced the Stadium Stampede, and Chris Jericho has been involved in these matches for every Double or Nothing ever since 2020. And I guess he changed the name because they weren't at the Jaguar Stadium anymore. This was their return back to Vegas. They had back-to-back Double or Nothings at the Jacksonville Jaguar Stadium, and that's where they hosted the Stadium Stampede. And it was always an Inner Circle in the match, whether it was Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle for last year. Then it was 2020, the Elite and Matt Hardy versus Inner Circle for 2020's Double or Nothing. And this year, it's no more Inner Circle. It's sports entertainment, the group of sports entertainment. J.A.S. pushing that sports entertainment agenda in a pro wrestling company like AEW. I think is brilliant. I think, like I said, the best thing I think in AEW, the best programs they got going right now is J.A.S., Wardlo, and yeah, I think those two are the best things going in AEW right now, at least in my opinion. And Blackpool Combat Club, they cool, and Wheeler Yuta wasn't involved in this match, and William Regal was nowhere to be seen in this match either. I don't know what they doing with Wheeler Yuta. I guess they just gonna have him as a singles competitor that's under the BCC branch, and he's going be defending his ROH Pure title and whatnot. But yeah, the storyline that they've been building around Eddie Kingston and PNP and J.A.S., good stuff. And Chris Jericho, man, I think he's my that part doesn't matter, but I think he's definitely up there. And it's gonna be a hard argument for any wrestling fan to debate Chris Jericho not being the GOAT. This man, like, he could go in the ring at his age, like he's 50 plus, and obviously his in-ring performance has to slow down because Father Age is undefeated. But his ability to reinvent himself, his character work is amazing, and that wizard character is that title is kind of corny, but I think that's the whole point. I think that's what makes it brilliant, and that's what makes it funny, right? And obviously Blackpool Combat Club, John Moxley, Bryan Danielson, these guys reached the pinnacle of sports entertainment. Main event and WrestleManias were a big part of the WWE during their run over there. And then Eddie Kingston, he's one of the like, he makes you feel it with his promos. His in-ring ability might not be all that, but like his mic work, his character is received very well by the crowd in general. And PNP, they're a good solid tag team as well. Been putting in work over there at Impact now. Ever since AEW came onto the pro wrestling scene, they've been there putting on since day one. And Eddie Kingston and PNP are like the rugged tag teams, or trios rather, in the in the AEW scene right now, and that character is received well by the crowd, and to have a ruthless guy like Jon Moxley and a aggressive wrestler, a pure aggressive wrestler like Bryan Danielson. He got the name American Dragon for a reason. Like that guy got some fierce, intensity about the dude, especially in the ring. And to have them alongside rugged guys like Eddie Kingston and PNP, that's a great alliance. And y'all know, those that's been tapping into AEW since the beginning, Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston been a team ever since AEW came about, and they had to reunite because I guess after the Wizard, aka the Influencer, Chris Jericho, a man of many nicknames, threw the fireball at Eddie Kingston. I guess Jon Moxley said that's enough, and he's gonna stick up for his friend, and that's how Blackpool Combat Club got involved in this match. And Anarchy in the arena, it was exactly that. There's too many spots to, you know, too many spots to go over in this match. There was blood everywhere, hardcore spots everywhere. But the key notes in this match that I could, bring up for as far as how this match went, like the highlight of this match, Blackpool Combat Club had the match won. Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson, them two specifically had the match won. They had Jake Hager and Chris Jericho in the ring in that lock. Y'all know how Blackpool Combat Club been picking up all their wins ever since they formed. Jon Moxley had Jake Hager in the Bulldog choke, while Bryan Danielson had Chris Jericho in the LaBelle lock. Then Eddie Kingston, after he beat up Danny Garcia backstage, he comes out back to the arena, rushes to the ring with gasoline in his hand, trying to get his get back on Chris Jericho. I guess he's trying to burn Jericho like how Jericho did him. But then not knowing his tag partner, Bryan Danielson, already has Chris Jericho in the LaBelle lock, and Jericho's about to tap. But while he's pouring gasoline on Jericho in his attempt to burn Jericho, he's pouring gasoline all over Bryan Danielson. So that storytelling put on to a great match. That goes to show you AEW putting an effort for a storyline that is one of the, that goes to show you that is one of the main storylines that AEW is producing right now, because a storytelling element put into a Anarchy in the arena match, that goes to show that's how important this feud is. And it shows Eddie Kingston is real live 730, and he's thirsty to get his get back, and he doesn't care about his team or anybody winning. He just wants to get Chris Jericho, and Bryan Danielson has to get Jericho out of the LaBelle lock because they both getting poured in gasoline with this Mad King Eddie Kingston over here trying to burn them, and he doesn't care who he burns as long as he gets Chris Jericho. And then now Bryan Danielson has to get up, and he's like, "What you doing?" And they get into a squabble. Jon Moxley, who's like the peacemaker in this team, who's friends, obviously he's in the same group as Bryan Danielson, a newly formed Blackpool Combat Club, and he's been partners with Eddie Kingston. They've been homeboys for I don't know for how long, but it's displayed on TV as well that they're tight, they're homeboys, Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. And he gets involved, breaks the fight up, and that gives room for J.A.S. to take advantage. Chris Jericho hits him with a chair. Looks like they have the match won on deck. Jon Moxley gets thrown to the outside, lands on the barbed wire table. He's laid out flat. But then Bryan Danielson makes a comeback out of nowhere, giving hope to the fans, like, oh, they still in this. J.A.S. don't got this in the bag. But then, boom, as soon as Bryan Danielson tries to hit the LaBelle lock once again on Chris Jericho, here comes Jake Hager with a baseball bat. He's going to town on Bryan Danielson with the bat. Then Jericho gets up, puts him in the walls of Jericho. Then before that happened, the ring got torn apart. All the ropes, the turnbuckles collapsed in the match because Jon Moxley, the lunatic, he done just blew up the ring. He done, threw the turnbuckles out and all that, unscrewed the turnbuckles, and the ropes fell out. Yeah, it was madness. And then, that's how Jake Hager got the ropes, and then he started choking Bryan Danielson as Chris Jericho had him in a single-legged Boston Crab, and then Bryan Danielson never tapped out. He passed out, and that called to a halt to the bout, and J.A.S. won. And it goes to show the miscommunication between the newly, I guess, forcefully formed alliance between BCC and PNP and Eddie Kingston. But PNP don't got no beef with Bryan Danielson or Jon Moxley. I guess, they said in the build-up to this match, like, PNP said, they used to funk with Jon Moxley when they were in the inner circle in the beginning years of AEW, but, they cool with Eddie Kingston, and Eddie Kingston is buddies with Jon Moxley, and, that's enough for PNP. They don't got no animosity or bad blood with Jon Moxley. They're cordial because, they got mutual friends and Eddie Kingston. But Bryan Danielson and Eddie Kingston, I guess they putting the real life non-kayfabe element into this storyline, because Bryan Danielson thinks Eddie Kingston's lazy. They said it on TV, and Eddie Kingston thinks Bryan Danielson's a prick, and they don't like each other, regardless of the fact that they got a common friend in Jon Moxley. And I guess, that's boiling over. Two egos clashing, two, opposites colliding. Did I say collapsing? I meant to say colliding. I don't know. I might be tripping. But anyways, forget that. That's whatever. Yeah, right. And I think that's the cool part. I'm wanting to see how this gonna play out between Blackpool Combat Club and PNP and Eddie Kingston, especially between Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson. I want to see how Jon Moxley and PNP come into play, how they gonna come into the middle of this. I want to see how all this shit unfolds between them. But J.A.S. picks up the win. This match, I'll give this match, man, a 4.5 out of 5. I think this was the best match on the card by far. Then the next match was Darby Allin versus Kyle O'Reilly. Really a filler match. Obviously, this got some kind of background to it because, Undisputed Elite took out Sting, who is the mentor of Darby Allin. But like I said, this was a filler match. This was under 10 minutes. Kyle O'Reilly won. This is building up, steam for Kyle O'Reilly. I think he just recently signed an extension with AEW, a multi-year deal with AEW. So obviously AEW values Kyle O'Reilly, and he's a good technician, man. Good submission artist. He, adds the Brazilian jiu-jitsu, part of my pronunciation, but Brazilian jiu-jitsu element, that MMA kind of feel to his style in the match. And Darby Allin's like another Jeff Hardy, just puts his body all on the line, pulling off all these crazy spots in the match. But there weren't really crazy spots in the match. Darby Allin hit the coffin drop outside the ring. That's pretty cool. And he tried to go for it again in the ring to pick up the win, but that's when Kyle O'Reilly caught him and put him in, I think, like a rear naked choke, and then he reversed it to an armbar. Then he hit the knee. I was going to say the same knee he hit to take out Sting, but I don't know if that was Adam Cole or Kyle O'Reilly that hit that knee from the turnbuckle on the chair to take out Sting. But, he did that to the back of Darby Allin to secure the win. So Kyle O'Reilly wins this match. I give that match a 2 out of 5. It was really a filler match, to be real. And then the next match on the card, it was Thunder Rosa, the new AEW Women's World Champion, putting a title on the line for the second time versus Serena Debb, who's been climbing up through the ranks, winning and winning and winning. And then she finally got her title shot. She came up short. It was, a classic wrestling match. Obviously, the Professor versus La Mera. I sounded very Yankee there. Like, my Spanish pronunciation, I ain't gonna roll my R's or do all that extra stuff. But Thunder Rosa. Britt Baker, she ain't get a rematch for the women's title yet. I don't know why, but Serena Debb, the Professor of Pro Wrestling versus Thunder Rosa, who could also go in the ring, put on, a classic wrestling match. Thunder Rosa pick up the win after she hit her finisher, and then it was a good back and forth encounter between these two. I give this match a cool 3 out of 5. La Mera, aka Thunder Rosa, retains her AEW Women's World Title. Like I said, a regular classic wrestling match between these two ladies. And I don't know if Serena Debb's going to get a rematch and want no extra animosity or angles displayed following the match. And yeah, but there you have it. Thunder Rosa is still the AEW Women's Champion. Then the next match, the three-way tag team title match between Swerve in Our Glory, Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, and Powerhouse Hobb and Ricky Starks, aka Team Taz, challenging Jurassic Express, a Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus for the AEW tag team titles. Jurassic Express retained their AEW tag team titles. Now they had some cool spots in the match. Obviously you got three big men representing for their teams each. They had a cool spot. Keith Lee got the best of the three-way between the big men. Obviously, I don't know how Keith Lee, being 350 pounds, I think he is, doing dives, front flips from the ring onto the outside. Like his aerial abilities is crazy. And yeah, he displayed that. Obviously, if y'all followed him in the indies, to the NXTs, to the WWE, and he's continuing that in AEW, and he's coming back from injuries and COVID, and for him to still do that is crazy. And then there was some cool high flying spots, cool close calls, with Ricky Starks hitting the spear on Jungle Boy, almost getting the pin, and Swerve in Our Glory hitting the finishing move on Jungle Boy, but then Powerhouse Hobbs saving the match. And yeah, and then to win, Jurassic Express hit their tag team finisher on Swerve Strickland to secure the win, to retain their AEW tag belts. And yeah, I give this match a 3.5 out of 5. They had some good spots in the match. Yeah, and it was a good classic three-way tag team match, and it was well balanced. It was everybody in that match got to display their skills. That's what I mean by it was well balanced. They choreographed this match very well. And then the main event, the AEW World Title match between the defending champion Hangman Adam Page and the challenger CM Punk. CM Punk's been on a momentum as of late. 7 straight wins. And Hangman Page, ever since he won the world title back at Full Gear, he's been doing this thing. There's been criticism because AEW hasn't been drawn as much of viewers as they did when Kenny Omega or Chris Jericho or Jon Moxley. Those are the only former AEW champions, and we can't solely blame it on the champion for the ratings not being as high when the other previous world champions were the champions, right? I guess the storylines, the programs that AEW is displaying on their shows ain't as lit as the former champions when they were on top. Maybe that's why, but the champion's the main event, and a lot of people are saying Adam Page is the least successful champion in AEW history, but that's like the first guy that AEW gave the title to that doesn't have the notoriety of a Chris Jericho or Jon Moxley or even a Kenny Omega, because Kenny Omega has accomplished it all outside of the WWE. I mean, when he was AEW World Champion, he had the Impact World Title, the AAA World Title, and he was the champion of all champions. And Hangman Page, he been there since day one. He's got that story where he started from the bottom. He was on like a losing streak, became a drunk, and then he overcame that and then reached the pinnacle when he defeated Omega for the world title at Full Gear. And I think, he's been that defending champion, that cliche babyface champion, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's like the classic world champion, and he's got like that common man like character, that common man vibe, but he don't play type of character. Like he's got that intensity about him. His mic work, his talking ability, that could, his charisma and all that could, develop and get better over time. But his character could get well over with anybody. But like I said, uh, as far as the ratings not being as high as when the other champions had their reign, you can't just blame it on one guy. It could, like I said, it goes back to all the programs that's being displayed on TV for these shows might not be as lit as it was once before. And as far as CM Punk goes, he's like the opposite of Adam Page. He hasn't been there since day one. He's obviously uh, been away from the industry ever since he walked out on WWE, and that was what he had like a 7-year break from pro wrestling, went to UFC, write comic books, and you know do things outside of pro wrestling. And as far as pro wrestling goes, CM Punk has accomplished it all outside of the WWE and in the WWE. And he, whether y'all say he's a prick or not, like that's like the storyline that they built around this feud. Other than CM Punk earning his way to the number one contender spot, um, is that CM Punk, he got like that prick attitude, that he's better than everyone, like that kind of feel. And Hangman Page is saying that's not going to be good for the company, and he's going to protect the AEW World Title, which is like the most prestigious title and accomplishment that anybody with the company can achieve. And if CM Punk wins that title, he feels like he's going to corrupt AEW with his ways, right? And that's like the storyline that they built. And CM Punk, he might not have like the Hulk Hogan look, but he's got all the skill factors to be the top guy. Like his mic work, his talking ability is out the question. His in-ring ability, obviously with Father Time, I'm not going to say ring rust, but after a 7-year break, yeah, and as long as he's been wrestling, his body's not going to be the same. Same thing, same case with Chris Jericho, right? Like your skills are going to slow down as you get older. Father Time is undefeated. Same thing for CM Punk. So his match has been looking a little more sloppy, but for his age that he's at right now, he's still putting on good matches for somebody of his age. And this match, I give it a 3 out of 5. It was prolonging. I thought it was a little dragged on. Some spots were sloppy, but hey, that, like I said, that's been happening on CM Punk matches. But he's still one of the most entertaining parts of AEW, one of the key components of AEW, and without a shadow of a doubt, I think he is by far the biggest draw, the biggest name in AEW. Chris Jericho, like I said, he been there since day one. I think he's like the supporting factor of AEW, working with the younger guys, putting other guys over, and reinventing himself as like the one of the more entertaining parts of AEW. And and I think he's on like that more mentor role. Obviously, he's the first ever world champion for AEW, but that was before Punk. And when CM Punk made his debut with AEW, what happened? The whole media took to that, and all the spotlight was on AEW, and CM Punk has that drawing power, and CM Punk won the world title. This was the key highlight of the match, right? Other than both wrestlers hitting their opponent's finishers on each other. But after the ref got knocked out, Hangman Page took the world title, and was gonna hit CM Punk over the head with the title. When CM Punk was on his knees, was about to get up, Punk looked at him. Hangman took another look at him, and then he put the belt back down, and then went for the buckshot lariat while Punk was still, struggling to get back up on his feet. But, that gave Punk enough time to recuperate and refocus on the match. When Hangman shot off the ropes to hit his buckshot lariat, Punk caught him midway, reversed it, and then hit the GTS to secure the win. And now CM Punk's the 5th ever AEW World Champion. And CM Punk has finally reached the pinnacle, got the brass ring. He got the most prestigious title in AEW, and that's what he came for. And he said, yeah, obviously with the name that he's got, with all the achievements that he's accomplished in pro wrestling, period, people thought that he could, put himself in spot to challenge for the world title right away. But no, CM Punk earned his way to challenge for that world title. At first, he challenged Darby Allin, a day one talent for AEW, who's beloved by the crowd, former TNT champion, a workhorse. That was CM Punk's first match in his hometown in Chicago at All Out in AEW. Then he took on Eddie Kingston. Then he got in that long feud with MJF. And then he finally got a shot at the world title at Double or Nothing, their biggest pay-per-view, and then he won the world title. So I think it was built well. CM Punk, obviously with the drawing power that he has, with the name that he has, he could have challenged for the world title right away. But I like how they built him up to, fight his way to earning that world title. I thought that was good, because I think CM Punk by far is the biggest draw that AEW has. So I think this is the best business move that AEW made, putting the title on CM Punk. You could try and AEW's got a deep roster. You could try and compare CM Punk versus whoever y'all think is the biggest draw over there. I'm not talking about just sheer talent. I'm talking about drawing powers. I think when CM Punk made his debut, with the attention he brought to AEW when he made his debut, I think that goes to prove that CM Punk is the biggest draw. I don't think anybody else, whenever, whatever big names you could think of in AEW, whenever that wrestler that you think is the biggest draw that AEW has outside of Punk, whenever they made their debut, I don't think had the same attention that CM Punk brought to AEW when he made his debut. But hey, that could be a cool debate anyways. But we'll see how CM Punk does as a champion. This might draw more ratings to AEW. I think that's why they put the title on Punk. Punk, this is his second run at pro wrestling. He's older now. Like I said, his matches aren't going to be as good as when he was in his prime, but he could still talk. He could still draw. And, we'll see how Punk does as a world champion. And, I thought in this feud Punk might turn heel because, for their closing promo, for their closing show, to the build-up to Double or Nothing, Paige saying he's going to try and, protect AEW from Punk because Punk's going to corrupt AEW if he wins a world title with his ways, because, he's got like that, bigger than life, like he's, better than everybody character. And, like they're trying to put that real life feel into these storylines, and that's the element that AEW be bringing a lot, and that's the kind of element that they brought to this feud. It was all about respect and honor, and Paige believes that Punk doesn't defy honor and respect. And this feud, I think, is going to continue because Paige almost contradicted herself. He had to catch himself when he tried to cheat to win, when he had that belt in his hand and he tried to hit Punk over the head with the title, but then he had to catch himself like, oh, I said CM Punk is dishonorable. I'm speaking as if I'm Paige right now. Paige is saying, oh, if he hits Punk over the head with the title to secure that win, that would be him dishonoring the title, and that's why he beefs with Punk in the first place. So he had to put the title down, and then he waited for Punk to get back up on his feet to execute that hangman or buckshot lariat, rather. Midway through, he went for the buckshot lariat. Punk caught him, reversed it, and hit the GTS to secure that win. And, that hesitation caused Hangman Page that title. And I think that might infuriate him. That might, get him to be possessed to, be more hateful towards CM Punk. And that might, lead to Hangman Adam Page turning heel, because he kind of gave a hint by, even thinking that he was going to hit Punk with the title. He let that hatred get the best of him, and he got overzealous, and he let, his emotions show in that match, and that almost, it's like a heelish move to cheat to win. And Paige is like that honorable common man fighting champion, and he kind of displayed the opposite of that towards the ending of the match. So we'll see how this shit plays out. People were saying, oh, CM Punk might turn heel, because everybody knows CM Punk could play both a great heel and a great baby face. But I don't think, they going to have CM Punk play the heel. If this feud goes on any longer, and I think and I believe that this feud is going to continue, and as this feud goes on, I think they're going to have Hangman Adam Page turn heel and keep CM Punk as a baby face for this feud to continue. CM Punk gave his post-title win speech when the pay-per-view went off air. FTR came out to celebrate with him. FTR wasn't featured on this card, and they're the ROH and AAA tag team champions. Not saying they're not booked right, because they're booked right. They're like how they've been ever since they turned babyface and won the ROH tag titles. How they've been presented on AEW. They're one of my favorite showcases when it comes to AEW. So shout out to FTR, but they weren't featured on this card. I guess he's gonna save them to perform at Forbidden Door versus Great O'Khan and Jeff Cobb, who made their debut as a team on AEW Dynamite last week. I guess that's a feud that they're gonna have FTR in. But yeah, CM Punk is the new AEW World Champion. I'm excited to see how he does as a world champion. Like I said, his matches aren't going to be as great as, when he was in his prime. But, it was a smart move on AEW's part to have CM Punk win the title, because, like I said, he's the biggest draw. And I think he's going to do good as a world champion. Like I said, he's still got the skills, as far as the same skills as far as his talking ability, his charisma, his in-ring performance might not be as sharp as it once was before, but CM Punk, I think he could still add that element of meaningful feuds for the world title as he's gonna go on to be the world champion for AEW. Anyways, this was a long ass review. It was a lot to break down. Yeah, I give the overall pay-per-view rating of a 7. I'd say a 7 out of 10. Yeah, 7 out of 10. That's how I rate this Double or Nothing pay-per-view. Y'all let me know what y'all opinions is. If y'all got a video reviewing it, I'll tap in. Y'all wanna comment, y'all go ahead and do that. All that good stuff, man. Comment, subscribe, share, like. Y'all already know, man. And I'm out, y'all. Peace.